And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Karl Malone edition, the mailman. The 6'9", 250-pound power forward is a zero-time champ, two-time MVP. He's a 14-time All-Star, 14-time All-NBA, playing 19 years in the league after being the 13th overall pick, and he is a Hall of Famer with career averages of 25, 10, and 3 on 51% shooting. And we will now kick to Wade, who has him ranked the highest of anyone at number 10 overall and number 2 on his power forward list. Wade?
All right. Well, I think with Karl Malone, when you first think, oh, Karl, I mean, you're really just looking at one of the, if not the biggest stat monster we have. Where it's unreal what he accomplished and how good he was. He averaged between 20 and 30 points a game for 17 years straight. That is unreal. I even read that even with the Lakers, his last year, they said that, if he wasn't playing on a team with 4 Hall of Famers and he didn't get injured, he probably at that point could probably still get close to averaging 20 points a game if he wanted to. Just an absolute monster, and that's usually what everybody thinks about, but there's a lot more to his game than that. He is 4-time all-defensive team. He was a brick shithouse. You couldn't really move Karl Malone very easily. He was a tenacious rebounder, averaging 10 a game for his career, and it's a very, very long career, so he even had, most guys that play that long drags their averages down. He's still at double digits. Was a pretty good passer for a big guy out of the post. Wasn't always a great shot blocker due to, he was a big man. He was only 6'9", but didn't necessarily have a huge wingspan, but was an okay shot blocker, but he kind of made up for it. He was one of the best ever at stealing the ball at the power forward position, and I believe he is the power forward position's all-time leader at steals, I believe. Like I stated in another episode, I mixed it up. I said he was the all-time assist leader power forward. I believe that was actually KG, and I believe Karl Malone is second or third, one of the two. And he's the all-time leader at points and steals at the power forward position. And just an absolute monster. Didn't really have a weakness in his game. One of the greatest scorers we've ever seen. Great defender in his prime. Above average passer as a forward. Great rebounder. And just a beast in the paint. Had a nice, great little mid-range jumper. And him and Stockton were probably the greatest. Well, they were the greatest duo ever at the pick and roll / pick and pop. I don't really think that's even debatable, probably. But yeah, I'll start with that.
All right. Well, that will kick to me, who has him ranked 12th overall and number 3 on his power forward list. And Wade pretty much said it there. This is the stat monster. Karl Malone's one of those guys I can struggle with. Because statistically, he's a monster. He has quite a few accolades. 2 MVPs. This is another guy where it's pretty debatable whether he deserved either one of them. But he does have 2 MVPs. He's got 14 All-NBAs. That stuff's all great. But he has no titles. That's the knock on old Karl. And we, for whatever reason, I think I said this in another episode, we don't seem to hold the lack of titles as much against Karl as we do against Barkley and Ewing. I'm not 100% sure why we do that. I'm including myself in that. So I'd like to dive into that a little bit later, but statistically he holds up pretty much with everybody. He's not the rebounder some of the other power forwards we have are. He's not the guy that's going to get you 12, 15 rebounds for a season very often. He had one season of 12 in his career. Then he stuck around 11 and 10 and then dropped down to 9 and then to 8, towards the end there. But he was a scorer, scorer extraordinaire. 25 points a game for his career, and playing in a great era with other great power forwards and big men. It's an impressive thing. Also, 51% from the field. He did it pretty efficiently. Like Wade said, doing a lot of that damage with his jump shot. And unlike a lot of big men, he doesn't shoot terrible from the free throw line, 74%, which is, pretty solid. Not fantastic, but solid. And, at the beginning of his career, he was a pretty terrible defender, and he worked on it and got better at it and improved his defense under, Sloan's tutelage. And, that's my opening statement for old Karl Malone, which will now lead us to Uncle Doug, who has him at 14 overall, 2 spots behind me, but back up to number 2 on the power forward list.
Yeah, you guys have said most of the stuff about Karl. He is second all-time on the points list with almost 37,000 points. His 25-point-a-game average is 11th all-time. He is 7th on the rebound list with almost 15,000 rebounds, 14,968. His average of 10-1 is only 58th, though. Assists, he is on the list. He's 60th, but no big deal. But the thing that, like Wade mentioned about steals, I didn't realize, Malone is actually 13th on the all-time steals list. I believe he is the highest power forward. And he's also 72nd on the block list, even though it wasn't great at that. No championships really does hurt Karl. And we can go into the MVPs later, too, because I like Alex. You wonder about some of those. I think really Karl's biggest problem resided in Chicago and was named MJ.
That's a lot of people's problems.
Yeah. He played at the wrong time, or at least the wrong guy. But he and Stockton were amazing to watch. That'll do it for my opening statement.
All right. Well, before I kick it to the next guy, I will say Drew and I are just looking at it. LeBron is 300 and change points away from Karl Malone. So he will only be second for a short amount of time.
Boo.
All right. Well, now that will kick it to Drew, who has him 17 overall and back now to third on the power forward list. Drew?
Kind of what my dad said at the end. He was running the MJ when he made the finals twice, but not just running the MJ, but he had to worry about Olajuwon for years. He had to worry about Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. Clyde Drexler before he went to Houston with Olajuwon. So he had more than just Michael to worry about in the Eastern Conference. He had to worry about all those guys too. Shaq and Kobe in their later days, so they could never get back to the finals after that. So there's that. He does have 2 MVPs, which is nice, but with the big guy dominant league, Karl Malone being able to get 10 rebounds a game, I think it's pretty impressive with all the big guys floating around, because about every time he's going to play a game, there's going to be a big dominant center. The possessions are lower in that rate. I think we've talked about that before. There's not as many, so for him to be able to average a double-double when he played 19 seasons in the league, I think it's pretty impressive, because when we see that last year, some of it drop off and it affects it tremendously. So I think that's pretty impressive.
All right. And that will now kick us to Ray, who has him ranked the lowest of anybody, all the way down at 19. And he is fourth on his power forward list. Ray?
Just started off. The 19 ranking will change. He's not staying there.
Would you want to tell us which direction you're talking about?
No. Why would I spoil the final episode of the basketball part of the podcast?
Oh, okay.
Takes away the suspense. But besides that, we've talked about Pippen's famous quote before, and I'm pretty sure the Pippen episode. I'll go ahead and bring that up again. I guess the mailman doesn't deliver on Sunday. Other than that, Karl Malone also wrestled in the WCW, which I think I also brought up in the Rodman episode, where him and Rodman wrestled a couple different matches against each other. Besides that, I think I'm going to do the question thing again. Let's see. We all know Karl is a phenomenal player, and we all have him within the top 20. Is the reason he's up so far everyone's list because of how good he was and the competition he went against. Also, if he would have snuck in at least one title, how much farther up the list would he go?
If Malone had one title,
Just one title. Just one.
he'd move up. He'd move up. He'd move up one spot on my power forward list.
I think he'd probably stay exactly where he's at on my list.
He wouldn't change on my power forward list. Maybe on the overall list. He is the highest ranked person I have with no titles.
Same here.
Me too.
So I think he stays the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I can't move him ahead of Duncan because Duncan has 5 of them.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so that one title doesn't push him ahead of Duncan, but I would pop him over KG if he had a title because I have KG at 2.
On my overall list, everyone ahead of him has multiple titles.
Yeah.
All right. How about this question? And this just come off the top of my head. We got Bill Russell. We got Chamberlain. We got Jabbar. And we got Olajuwon. And then we have Karl Malone. Amongst those 4, where's Karl Malone rate against those guys?
Can you name them again? I'm sorry.
Russell, Chamberlain, Jabbar, and Olajuwon.
Russell.
Overall, I have him behind all 4 of them.
Yeah.
I have him behind Jabbar and Olajuwon, ahead of Russell. Who was the other one? I'm sorry. Chamberlain. I have him and Chamberlain side by side at 10 and 11.
Is that because of the title situation, or is that just because y'all think they're more talented than Karl Malone?
Well, I mean, I think Jabbar is the second greatest player ever.
Okay.
So I think Olajuwon was just a more complete player than Malone. Malone might have a slight advantage on offense, but then Olajuwon kills him on defense.
Well, here's my thing about Olajuwon. They're contemporaries, and when Mike left, Olajuwon said, "Karl, you're a bitch. Get out of my way."
Okay.
And won 2 titles, and one of which pre-Drexler. So I mean, and he would destroy the Admiral and Ewing and Malone on his way there. So it's like, you had your shot, you failed, kind of thing. I obviously have Jabbar ranked well ahead of him as well. Sorry, Drew.
Right.
I have Russell ahead of him. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I have Wilt behind him.
Okay.
But I could probably be talked out of it.
I have Karl Malone ahead of Russell, and the other ones are ahead of him. So,
Well, for me, the way I see it is that they're all teetering on the same kind of talent level. The only thing Karl Malone didn't get was titles. Now they're all up there in points. They're all up there in blocks. I feel if Karl Malone would at least got one title, we might be talking just a little bit different amongst those 5 guys.
Well, here, I guess I look at the guys that what year is it? 94? Is that the first year Mike's gone?
Yeah.
yep.
94. That 94 season tells us a lot about the hierarchy of players after Mike. And I feel like that lone season is a huge black mark on Barkley, Malone. Not as much on Robinson, but the way Robinson went out to Olajuwon was bad. And the way Olajuwon just absolutely dismantled Ewing, I think was again kind of falls in the Robinson thing. I think the 94 season kind of filled out the hierarchy for the 90s after Jordan for us.
Another question, right? Like, kind of, if you're gonna say Malone gets a title, what year are you gonna have him beat Michael, or are you gonna have him beat Elijah, one of them, and then beat Ewing? Like, Because I think that kind of depends
I mean,
to effect. Because if, say, he beats Michael one year, Elijah still has 2-1 on him. Say he beats Elijah one year and they both get one. So
I said to me it doesn't matter because I've got Michael and Elijah in the top 8. So either way, him getting a title, it doesn't really matter because it's both tough competition.
all right.
But I mean, if he just gets that one, to me, I feel like we're having a whole different discussion with the centers list and Karl Malone.
Power forward list.
Well, I mean, I'm comparing Karl with the centers at the top spot. But if he got that title, I think. Well, I think myself, I'm having a different discussion.
Well, I think a title obviously does him good, but I think we've all kind of agreed that we gave him quite a bit of credit for somebody that doesn't have a title. Probably the most credit we've given anybody that doesn't have a title. I mean, for at least some of us.
I think for all of us, I think most of us have him the highest with no title.
Yeah, I mean, he is for me, and I think Wade and Doug said
I think we all have him in the top 20, if not top 15, that title.
Well, the 4 of us have him in the top 15. Ray has him outside the top 15, but he has him in the top 20. So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying, Ray, is I don't feel like I discredited him not having a title very hard. I don't think I held it against him that much. That was part of what I asked earlier, is why are we holding Barkley and Ewing to a different standard than we do Malone? So, because those guys don't have titles, and that's pretty much, a huge thing for them. And we, at least the 4 of us have him, higher than all those guys, and, he doesn't have a title either.
Okay, well, let me spin it back this way. Karl Malone, Barkley, Robinson. Mm-hmm. Who's got the better skill set?
Well, to be honest with you, not to try and sound like Wade here, but I think Barkley does more on a basketball floor than the other guys, just because of his versatility. The way he handled the ball, the way he ran the floor, the way he was able to move his feet. Not that the other guys weren't athletic, but Barkley was special athletic, and he was able. It's not like his quickness and his athleticism and his height hurt him on the boards. He out rebounded these guys for most of his career. He did out rebound Karl Malone for almost their entire career. He out rebounded Robinson for a lot of his career. So I mean, I'd say Barkley has the bigger skill set.
Okay. What do you guys think? Who got the better skill set at Karl Malone, Barkley, and Robinson?
Oh, that's a toughie.
Like Alex said, Charles is the most versatile. Karl was very good at what he did. He had a nice jump shot. He ran the pick and roll great with Stockton. Robinson was a totally different kind of player. Those 3 are really different. And going back to your title thing, I forget what it was, Alex, Drew, whichever one said which title he gets. If he had beat Mike one year,
that changes everything.
I think Karl Malone goes up my list. If he'd have won one of the other 2, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I've got Elijah ahead of him. If they split titles, I still think I'd have Elijah ahead of him.
I think he just did more on a basketball floor.
Yeah, but if he beat MJ, one of those titles, that would have been something because nobody did.
Right, yeah.
So that changes everything. You go from something no one did to someone finally broke the mold and beat Michael.
That is true. I mean, I didn't think of it that way. So let me ask you guys this. What is a bigger disappointment to you, or a bigger letdown, however you want to put it? The Jazz not seizing 94, or the Jazz not seizing 99? Because in 99, you're coming off back-to-back title runs, and then MJ retires and Scotty leaves. So everything's wide open, and then you let the upcoming Spurs come in and win a championship.
Oh, yeah.
Well, another team I forgot to mention earlier that stops them from going back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 99 I don't view as too big a failure. They're all Stockton and Malone are getting pretty old at that point. They just went to back-to-back finals. That's a humongous wear and tear on your body. You see stuff like that happen all the time. Team have some success for a couple of years. They come up and they come up a little short because they just wear down. And they were getting older. At that point, let's see. Yeah, he's 35 in 99. And Stockton's, what, a year older than him?
Yeah, a year older.
I go
So 36. So I don't. And then when comparing players with just team success, it gets tricky. I don't. Because a player can go out there and dominate, and then they lose, and then you say, oh, well, they lost to this player. That's not. I don't know.
So you can just say that with Michael to Larry when he was, his rookie or second year in the league? When,
It just gets tricky.
when that one series he averaged like 43 against the Celtics, like his first or second year in the play, was it like 86?
Yeah, I think it was 86.
Because he averaged like something crazy. It was,
He scored
he set the-
63 in one of the
Yeah, he
games.
set
Right,
the
yeah.
playoff record for points scored in a game. That's still
Yeah.
held today against those
And-
Celtics teams.
but then they get swept. So
Yeah,
but
they
the
got
Celtics
swept.
had Bird and Parrish and McHale, and they were
Bill Walton the 1 year he was actually
Yeah,
healthy.
DJ.
That was the best Celtics team of that era.
Yeah.
86.
They were
Yeah.
four four Hall of Famers on one team, 5 if you count Walton. I guess. Wait, I miscounted that. Yeah, 5 if you count Walton on one team.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's
I don't know. Like I was trying to get a general idea of what Malone was doing some of those years, so I looked up his playoff series. In '94, in the first round, he averages 29 points, 12 boards, 2 assists. Second round, he does 26 points, 12 boards, 3 assists, and then when he loses to Houston to Olajuwon, he averages 26 points, 12 and a half boards, and 5 assists. So
What about 94? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. He's dominating. His team's losing. I don't
Well,
know.
I think the big difference in the Houston series is he shoots 43%.
Yeah, but that's really pretty common. Michael Jordan, his last, 2 championships, he shot, 42%. But you don't talk about it because he won.
That's fair.
Olajuwon gets credited for dominating Shaq, but if you look at their stats, it's not really what happened. And Shaq outshot him by 16% or something like that.
who guarded Karl Malone for the Houston Rockets during that?
I mean, if we assume that the power forwards guard each other, Otis Thorpe would have been the starting power forward for Houston that year.
Did they have a young Robert Ory in there somewhere playing
Yeah,
forward?
that would have been Ori and Cassell's rookie season.
Something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, to answer the question you asked a few minutes ago about it was more, what'd you say, better or versatile? or
Better skill set.
better skill set of those 3. I'll agree with the versatility with Barkley because he was just a unique player. He just did a lot of stuff we've just never really seen out of someone that size. I would say Malone was the most dominant. Barkley probably did a few things we've probably never seen out of someone that size. And I would say Robinson's the most complete out of the 3 because he was an utterly dominant defender that the other 2 weren't on that level. And he was obviously dominant on offense as well in his prime. So they all 3 have things that, Malone's going to get you your 25 to 30 and 12 every single night. Barkley's going to do these different versions of things that other forwards can't do. And Robinson's going to dominate on both ends of the floor like we rarely see. So you just got to pick your poison, I guess.
Well, let me ask you this one last question, and then I'll just give it up. If you started a franchise out of those 3, who are you drafting first?
What's the 3 again?
Malone, David Robinson, and Barkley.
I would say Malone.
Wait. What time period, like basketball are we playing?
It doesn't matter.
I'd pick Malone out of the 3.
I'd take the Admiral.
I'm with that. I was saying I'd take the Admiral.
If I'm starting a franchise, I might take Barkley.
Interesting. We have 3 different answers. I like it.
I'd have to go with Malone.
I would Malone.
Yeah.
Malone, you get over 15 great seasons. With the Admiral, you get 9, maybe 10. With Barkley, you get somewhere in the middle of those 2. And Barkley's the worst defender of the 3. So that's my thought process.
And I'm thinking, if I'm starting a team, do I have the guy to get the ball to Malone? whereas Charles will probably go get his own.
Well, that's factored in the versatility. That's true.
That's why I'm thinking starting a team.
And Robinson's going to be the best defender out of the three.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
And
he'll anchor your team.
I have a big problem with big men that can't block shots.
Yeah. But Malone is not the center.
It's
He
true.
would play with a center.
Yeah.
He's the power forward.
So I do like the Admirals' defense, and he's going for the, maybe not for as long, but for the meat of their career, he's going to get you just as many or close to just as many points. So
it's a really good question, Ray. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all three players that way. All three have grouped pretty close together.
indeed it is.
So, yeah, there you go. There's my opening questionnaire once again.
All right. Well, that is all of our opening statements. So I will ask. Here's the thing, guys. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember a player that every single one of us had grouped so tightly. Not just on our overall list, but on our power forward list. He's on 2 is the highest and 4 is the lowest on our power forward list. So no bigger divide than 2 spots, and we go from 10 to 19. So there's not really a division in us.
No, it's a pretty tight group.
Yeah.
It's pretty picky.
And I think I can speak for all of us and say that none of us have a problem with Malone playing in every era.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
No.
No, you're right.
No.
Yeah.
If-
I mean, he played in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
so I
right,
mean,
yeah.
The era that we
he-
always prop up.
Yeah.
that's
He
right.
dominated. And
I mean,
Besides-
I think the only era that you ask questions about is right now.
Yeah.
Whether he could stretch his game to the 3-point line, whether he would change to a center, and whether he'd move his feet well enough to defend the pick and roll the way it's run today. I think those are the only questions. But I have no doubt that he could play today or that he'd be able to score today.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, even with today, if you're just a great all-time player and you have a specific skill set, like one of the best players in the NBA right now is DeMar DeRozan. All he does is shoot mid-range jumpers. So I mean, if you're a great dominant player, even if it's not a 3-pointer like they want you to shoot today, you're still going to dominate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and re-ask my question from there because I didn't really ask for answers earlier. But why do you think we seem to come down less hard on Malone for his lack of titles than we do on Barkley and Ewing? Because we all have those guys ranked lower than we do Karl. And none of them have titles, and they all were contemporaries. Why do you think we seem to cut Karl some more slack?
I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know if it's good or bad thing. You guys can tell me. Is it because Karl went to the well, here, I'll go compare it to Barkley first. Barkley went to 1 and lost. Malone went to 2. And then with Ewing went when Michael left. And then he got dominated by another center. And then he never got back because Michael kept beating him. So would you say that's why?
I just don't think Ewing's on the other two's level.
No.
Yeah. I don't
And
know.
then Karl Malone has 2 MVPs to Barkley's 1. So he just did stuff twice compared to what Barkley did.
Ewing did get back, though.
Oh, yeah, he goes back in Then he's go back.
99, they got lost to the Spurs.
and then again he loses to.
But he's not even.
He
He's injured.
He gets
for-
hurt. He gets hurt in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he doesn't even play. Was it any of it? Or
He
just
played
part
early
of
in the
it?
playoffs, but he missed. He didn't play any in the
Yeah.
finals. I know
'Cause,
that.
like Marcus, it was like Marcus Camby.
Yeah,
came
Marcus
in or something.
Camby. Yeah, Camby and Houston and Sprewell led that team down the stretch. No, I think I agree with you, Wade. I don't think I view Ewing as the same, reaching the same heights as the other two. I think maybe Ray disagrees, but
And then
did you give a reason for Barkley, Wade?
I mean, not yet. But
Okay.
I mean, I even said in the Barkley episode, he's not really a player I blame for not really having a title. I mean, when you're an all-time great player, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like, I feel like a lot of times Barkley went out there and did his job. He just lost to better teams. I mean, that just happens a lot. Like, a lot of times the Jazz, you have him and Stockton. And I'm not as big on Stockton as everybody else here. I think he's obviously an all-time great point guard. But, like I said, it's in a different episode. Besides running the pick and roll and him passing it to Malone and in certain situations, Stockton could be limited scoring the basketball. And sometimes with the Utah Jazz, it was just Malone scoring the basketball. And if you could find out a decent defensive scheme against him, or you got a good matchup on him, sometimes, it's a pretty limited offense. And he's just kind of left on an island by himself offensively. That's my thought process a lot of times. I mean, a lot of those Jazz teams, you have Stockton, Malone, and then Oyster Tag, Hornacek.
Oyster Tag.
I mean, and a bunch of guys that are either, if you know who they are,
Mark Eaton.
yeah. Even him offensively wasn't very good.
No.
He was terrible on offense. He blocked a lot of shots.
Yeah,
and
they
then
found him in a garage in L.A.,
Yeah.
I think.
Adrian Dantley, his rookie year. That was it. And then, Byron Russell's pretty much known as the guy who wanted to stop Jordan and couldn't. That's why you know his name. And then, a bunch of guys you either never heard of or players that you heard of but weren't any good anymore that were on the roster. There could be someone I'm forgetting, I guess, but Jeff Hornacek was a decent player, but he's not dropping 30 on you.
Yeah, in the late 80s, they had Darrell Griffith for a little while. Nice little scorer. And
someone had to score. There's going to be people that average a decent amount of points.
Yeah.
But that happens with every team.
And I don't want to sound like Hornacek sucks. He does not suck.
No, I thought he was pretty decent.
Yeah. I wasn't pointing that at you. But Hornacek is not a world beater. He's an all-star. He made a couple all-star games, but
I'm even shocked he made a couple all-star teams, to be honest.
He had a couple seasons where he was pretty good. He had a season in Phoenix where he was 25-5.
Really? Hornacek did that?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I only remember him with the Jazz.
Yeah, me too.
I don't remember him from Phoenix.
Yeah, he was in Phoenix in the early 90s.
Gotcha. So was his prime in Phoenix? Or was it with Utah?
In Phoenix.
Oh, okay. So that kind of helps my argument a little bit. He doesn't even get to Karl until he's older.
He comes to Utah at age 30.
Okay, so probably the end of his prime. Probably.
Looks like I got him pulled up now. His best Utah season looks like 16-4.
Okay. So yeah, offensively, scoring wise, it sounds like Malone, and then his second best help was Hornacek. Unless the old Oyster Tag was going to have himself a good game. Mom's second favorite player behind Scott Pollard.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at old Greg Oyster Tag here.
Watch.
Career averages of 4 points and 5 rebounds.
And he was the starting center for those championship or those finals teams.
Oh, geez.
Okay,
You either had a great center or you had someone like that on your team.
Yeah.
he started 70 games in 1996 and averaged 7 points and 7 points and 7 rebounds. That's his best season. 7-7 is his best season.
And he was their starter in the finals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for those 2 seasons they made against Jordan. It's bad when Luke Longley's dominating you. Like, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Jesus.
Here's the roster in 1996. Okay. David Bonnet, Antoine Carr, Howard Isley, Greg Foster, another one of Mom's guys, Jeff Hornacek, Adam Keefe,
Yeah.
Karl Malone, Chris Morris, Greg Oystertag, Byron Russell, Felton Spencer, John Stockton, Andy Toulson, and Jamie Watson.
So what? So did I make my point then? I don't.
There wasn't a lot of help there.
And then they're meeting Jordan in the finals those 2 years, and they're meeting Jordan and Pippen and Rodman and Kukoc. Like, there's other role players that we know, but those were the best players on the team, obviously.
Wait, that season, Byron Russell averaged 3 points and 1 rebound.
Oh, see, you know what I mean?
Holy cow.
It's Jordan stopper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Jordan stuff.
The 2 years they went to the finals, Byron Russell averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 9 points, 4 rebounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you say? That's what you want right there. Championship caliber player.
So, they match up against the Bulls in the finals. You have Karl and Jordan as the 2 superstars. Jordan's the greatest player ever. So he's already better than Malone, even though Malone's one of the greatest players ever.
You said that like it's a fact, Wade.
It is a fact. I mean, are you referring to some of the LeBron people?
Yeah, well, there's somebody else sharing your couch that has a disagreement with you.
I think Uncle Doug's is trying to give us a hard time. He's trying to pull our leg. I guess we'll find out in a few episodes, I guess. But
And it's not LeBron, it's someone else.
yeah. But then you have Stockton and Pippen. Again, both all-time great players. But, I mean, I don't... And then it literally falls off a cliff with the Utah Jazz. And then the Bulls still have Rodman and Kukoc and
They're
Ron
both
Harper.
in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. Ron Harper, who at that time wasn't doing anything offensively, but was still a very good defender.
Mm-hmm.
You have the highest three-point shooter by percentage ever in Steve Kerr going off the bench. I mean, they had 2 or 3 centers that would go in there and pick up a bunch of fouls and hit people. I mean, I just think they were outmatched, and that's why they lost.
I think we said it during the Barkley episode. Barkley was not the favorite the year he lost to the Bulls. The Bulls were. And the 2 years that Malone and them went there, I mean, some people will say, Mark will probably tell me this, well, the Jazz won more games in the regular season, so they were the favorites. No, they weren't.
Well, didn't we say last episode Michael was favorite to win all 6?
Yeah,
I mean,
he was favored to win all
A
6.
couple years ago, with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, the Utah Jazz won the most games in the NBA. They weren't the favorites.
They didn't make the Western Conference Finals.
Exactly. Like, the regular season wins aren't... Remember that one year the Atlanta Hawks led the league in wins when they had those 4 or 5 really good players, and they lost in the second round, and no one expected them to make the finals.
No.
Like, it's not always the case.
Well, let me ask you guys this one. So we got the Bulls and Suns in 93. We got the Knicks in Houston 94.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Magic in Houston in 95.
Mhm.
And then who was 96? Oh, the
Supersonics.
Supersonics. And then we got the Utah Jazz for 2 seasons. All those rosters are pretty similar. I think, and I'm going to sound like a crazy person, but I think your Magic for that stretch of time probably had a more talented roster.
I wouldn't say that's far-fetched. You're talking about like the Shaq and Penny and
I
Yeah.
think they're just
and
younger.
Anderson and all them.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing. I'm really gonna try not to sound like a homer here, but I mean, obviously Shaq is an all-time great. I mean,
Yeah.
we all have them very high on our list.
Yes.
I mean, I have some disagreements with Ray with Shaq, but other than that, we all have him very high on our list. I have no doubt in my mind Penny is on this list if his career isn't cut short by injury.
I would agree.
Probably.
I mean, Penny was that talented.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was the starting point guard for that title run team just a couple years into his career, and he was uber talented. And Nick Young and Dennis Scott were very nice role players, and we can't forget about Horace Grant, who's fresh off winning 3 titles with the
Yeah,
Bulls.
I think that's the big part. They have the 2 stars, which you'll see a lot throughout good teams. It was the people after them that were so really talented. Anderson was he was a 20-point per game scorer there for a little bit, or close to it.
He probably got close to it before
The free throws,
before Shaq got there.
something like that. But like he was really, really good. And then Scott was one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. And Horace Grant had just won 3 titles with the Bulls and was their 3rd best player on all the teams. So, I mean, there's a lot of talent right there. A lot of talent.
Back-to-back seasons, Nick Anderson averaged 19.9.
See? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in the early 90s.
So I think that's the most impressive part. It's after the 2 superstars, they're pretty much superstars both. And then 3 more really, really good players. At least 2 more really good players, and then some other decent, solid players.
Well, and you got to think about, too, we haven't even named somebody. Brian Shaw was Penny's backup.
Yeah.
They had a very
he
good
wasn't bad.
backup veteran point guard.
Oh, yeah.
That is something I would give Orlando credit for. Orlando was able to surround Shaq and Penny.
Was that their nickname back in the day?
No,
Oh,
it
Shinny?
was not. No, it was not. But that would have been cool. Shaq and Penny with good role players that filled the gaps around those guys. They haven't been able to do that since. They've struggled to do it since. They did all right with Dwight. They could just never bring in a second star to play with Dwight. And they couldn't do shit around T-Mac. And to be honest with you, since Dwight's left, they just can't find a superstar.
Well, I think the biggest problem with the T-Mac magic was Grant Hill's ankle.
It was.
They signed one of maybe the best player in the NBA, or in that conversation, and then he literally pretty much never played again for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And you were close to getting Tim Duncan.
Yeah, they almost
Yeah.
had the biggest big three in the NBA that the NBA had probably seen in a while. Like if those three are healthy and all there, oh sweet Jesus! I mean,
There's titles.
We might have a
like-
Magic
Oh, yeah.
dynasty.
like in the
Yes.
90s when Jordan retired that first time, they were trying to give Grant Hill the mantle of the next great superstar. Like that's how good he was at the beginning of his career. And then T-Mac, when he goes to the Magic, is winning scoring championships and is on the same level as Kobe. And, you know, there was like 4 or 5 great shooting guards, but him and Kobe and Vince and AI and all that. And then Tim Duncan's the greatest power forward of all time. So that's insane.
I pulled up the Magic title run team here from the 90s. You have Shaq, who's averaging 26 and 11 on 57% shooting, while Penny is averaging 21 and 7 on 51% shooting. Then you have Dennis Scott
Yeah.
averaging 17 points a game. He doesn't really do a whole lot else. And then and he's shooting 44% from the field, which isn't overly great, but he shot 42% from 3.
So he's
Yeah.
just shooting threes.
Yeah, that's all he did. Yeah. Then you have Nick Anderson, who averaged 14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists on 44%. And then you have Horace Grant, who averaged 13 points, 9 rebounds on 51% shooting.
Yeah.
Nice little team there.
Yeah.
They were the Thunder of the 90s. That young
Yeah.
superstar
Yeah.
Thunder team.
That's a good way to
They
put
were
it.
just too young to win. They needed the experience.
Yeah. And then Shaq pulled the Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq was like, I'm going to LA. I want to make movies.
I want to
Yeah.
be a genie.
Shazam.
All right. Well, I don't know what led to that anymore, but I like talking about the Magic. I think you said that was the most talented team in that title run.
Well,
They went
I
up
think.
against Jordan. We're
Well,
talking about
I mean, in that 5-year span, I mean, we had the Suns, which you had like Dan Marley, KJ, and
Barkley.
Old Danny Ainge.
and then you had Olajuwon, Kenny the Jet, Drexler. Then you had Magic, who's just stacked out of the gills with talent, and they couldn't really do anything because
Yeah.
then they got swept that year, right?
Yeah, after Nick Anderson missed the free throws, it was over.
And then you got this elderly pair of Karl Malone and John Stockton,
Mm-hmm.
somehow just durable as fuck and just made it to the finals 2 years in a row. I mean, not excluding the last 13,
Yeah.
which they made the playoffs, but I mean, it kind of shows a little bit of their, I guess, determination for the Jazz team. You know, making it with a bum roster, and then you look at Shaq's Magic team, and it's just like, what went down?
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
My overall point was, when we were talking about Karl Malone, is like lots of people talk about he has some struggles in some important moments in big games. And I'm not saying he didn't or just missing that. But when you have the that roster with those offensive players, if you're a defense with that roster, like what would you do, Drew, if it comes down to an important situation with that roster? You're just going to swarm Karl Malone,
So
right?
you double
Yeah.
Carl, yeah.
yeah.
Hey, double Karl Malone.
And then he either kicks it. I mean,
I'm
I
gonna
don't
let
know.
Russell shoot a 3.
Exactly.
So I'm
So
gonna make one of the no names, or not no names, but not.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
I'm not gonna leave the game up
I'm
to
just
Karl
saying,
Malone hitting a
Jazz made
15
it
footer.
easy for Karl Malone to kind of fail in those situations offensively. I'm not saying he couldn't have done a little better or made some better decisions, but as a defense, you know exactly what's going to happen. Just don't leave Stockton open for a 3. You don't even have to guard maybe a couple other players Well, Hornacek was a good shooter.
Yeah.
But you can leave Russell. Who the fuck knows where Oyster Tag's at or what he's doing? You don't care. I mean,
that's
I
why
mean,
just don't let him catch it 2 feet from the rim.
So literally just don't let Stockton and Hornacek shoot a three because they're both good shooters. But that's what they were good at too. So you just had to guard them at 3-point land and then just swarm Karl Malone.
That's why Michael knew to steal the ball from Karl Malone in Game 6.
I mean,
he knew where it was going.
That's another thing. Is that do people consider that his fault?
I think so. Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah, probably.
If you're posting up and you're ready to make a move and someone runs across the court and comes up behind you, is that on your teammates to tell you he's coming, or is it your fault because you're trying to make a move posting up?
I think somebody's got to make a call, like backdoor or something.
Well, I think we've all played ball at some level. Like, you're yelling at your teammates saying there's somebody coming up behind them. I mean, you get taught that in junior high.
Yeah.
We've all been told to yell wolf.
People gotta be watching Jordan. Him and Pippen are the two best defensive perimeter guys of maybe that generation.
And if you're
so you need to watch them what they're doing, and they just let Jordan walk right up behind him and just take it and run down court.
Also, if you're Karl Malone at the end of the game, you got to think someone's coming to guard me. They're not going to.
Well, that's the thing is it was illegal in the NBA at that time to double somebody until after they caught the ball. So if you're Karl Malone and have half a brain in your head, you catch and go because you know the double's coming. I mean, you can't catch and hold because he holds the ball for like 4 or 5 seconds.
He holds it there and spins, and then Michael comes up and hits it.
Yeah, like they literally, it's against the rules for them to come double team you until after you have the ball. And Mike comes from clear across the court.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Though, that's plenty of time for someone to say Jordan's running at you to steal the ball. Like, I'm not saying it's not Karl Malone's fault at all, but there's a team concept there that should be, I think, more talked about. If you see the greatest player of all time running across the court at you, someone should be telling you he's coming up from behind you. Like, that was just my point.
I mean, at least Detroit had the Jordan rule. At least Jazz could have said was backdoor, something.
Yeah. Well, who do we know? Does anybody remember who was Jordan guarding during that play? Or supposed to be guarding?
It would have been Russell or
probably
Hornacek,
Russell.
probably.
Yeah, Russell or Hornacek. One
One of the two,
like
probably.
Because I assume Pippen probably has Stockton.
Him or Harper. Harper was a really great defender.
He was, yeah.
So you could have Harper. I would imagine Harper on Stockton. They put Pippen on probably Hornacek. So I'd say probably Russell, like Uncle Doug said.
Yeah.
I don't know that, it's a guess, but.
So do we criticize Karl Malone if he throws the ball to a wide open Russell? Because I mean, we criticize LeBron for it.
I've never really criticized LeBron for passing.
I don't only say we as in, but I mean as a general society, we criticize LeBron for passing in big moments. Yeah, when he passes in big moments, that's a game-winning situation.
Right.
If Malone makes the correct play and throws it to the wide open Byron Russell, who is not a good shooter but is standing wide open on the court, do we criticize Karl for that?
No, I mean
I'd say probably.
I mean the media would probably, but I mean I've never criticized LeBron for making the right play. Jordan gets praised for making the right play to Paxson and Kerr. So it's just a matter if the person makes it. I mean, two of the most famous plays ever with Jordan
14.
is when he kicks.
Whoever 14 is for the Jazz the second year.
Well, let's see what Hornacek's
because I think
Stockton's 14.
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember the numbers.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm
pulling up the roster.
Hornacek then.
But here's Hornacek's 14, so he's guarding Hornacek. He leaves Hornacek open.
Okay.
But here's the thing. We just watched it, so it's kind of fresh in our minds now. Hornacek does something stupid, and Hornacek runs into the paint.
So
he takes Jordan to the paint.
Oh.
And then Jordan runs up behind Malone, and Hornacek hauls ass back out to three-point land. But at that point, first off, you've already fucked up. But second off, continue to stand in the paint, because if Malone sees you, he just throws you the ball and it's a wide-open layup. But no, he turns around with his back to Malone and runs all the way back out to three-point line.
And we all know
that kind of helps my point. Hornacek brought him right next to Karl Malone and then
all
ran away when he went to steal the ball.
We all know from playing basketball, if you're a double team, you can't make these cross-court passes. I mean, they're always like, oh, hey, I was open over there in the corner. I can't get you the ball when two guys are freaking on me and guarding me and swiping at me. You're not going to be able to make that pass.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't see some guy coming.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Hornacek brought him to him and then ran away. I'm guessing he didn't say anything because it doesn't look like, from what I remember, it doesn't look like Malone knows he's there, obviously.
Which I would say, it's not like he's like the whole play is behind him. He's posted up on the block. Jordan is in his field of vision, especially as somebody as a talented passer as Karl Malone is. You'd think you'd see the guys running towards you, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not saying this is 100% Karl's fault, but there is a portion of this where you're like, Karl, why didn't your eyes closed?
That's all I was wanting.
Yeah.
It's not all his fault. There's a team aspect there.
Right.
And what you were saying about him not taking the last shot, I'm a firm believer you should make the right basketball play, because when you guys are looking at the video, Jordan was heavily praised for finally making those passes to Kerr and Paxton to win games in
That's
the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it's all about the person makes it.
And
If they make it,
well, that's true.
If you make it, you're the hero for passing it. If they miss it, you're the dumbass that gave it up.
You're Karl Malone. Why didn't you shoot the ball?
Yeah, that's what they say if he passed it and they missed it.
Right. But at the same time, Hornacek is the same level of shooter, at least of Paxton. He may not be on Kerr's level, but he's definitely on Paxton's level.
Yeah.
You
He's an
know,
elite shooter.
Hornacek's an elite shooter.
But like you said, though, if Hornacek had made the right play and stayed in the lane, Malone might have hit him. But you turn your back and hit
Or if
the
he'd
three.
never gone down there to begin with. If Jordan runs from three-point land by himself without Hornacek going with him, and Hornacek standing in three-point land like this,
Right, yeah, then it's totally different.
you know, I guess I put my hands up like I'm
Or if
getting ready to
Jordan
shoot.
stays on him, Malone gets a one-on-one opportunity to score,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
he's one of the greatest ever at that in the paint. You know, he could muscle his way to the basket. He could spin and do one of those
So
jump
he was
shots.
pretty close
great
to
at.
the block, so he was right there.
Guys, he's not that big. He's only 10 pounds heavier than Durant.
Dude, get out of here. Karl Malone is stacked. Absolutely stacked. Karl Malone is one of the most stacked NBA players I've ever seen.
Him and David Robinson.
That dude, yeah, they were both buff as hell.
10
Like-
pounds heavier than Kevin Durant. That's all I'm saying.
The Kevin Durant weight is just ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I saw something online about weight the other day. They said realistically, when Shaq would start to get into shape with the Lakers, he was 340. So when he showed up out of shape, he was closer to 370.
Shaq?
my God.
370?
They said when he would show up out of shape with the Lakers, he was, they said somewhere like 380, but I didn't quite believe that. So I'd guess 360, 370. And they said once he got into shape, he was 340 with the Lakers.
Well, they have him listed on basketball.
Like,
So what do you think he weighed when he
325.
was like
oh, they give him
completely
325. That's shocking.
cooked and out of shape with like the
Four-
Cavs and the Celtics?
450. 450.
I guarantee he was in the 400s there at the
Yeah.
the Cavs and the Celtics. He was not moving.
I bet he was just a big blob on the
What do you
offseason.
think? He's so huge. Not just being, what, 7'1"? 7,
Yeah.
7'2", I think is what he's listed, isn't it?
7'1".
7'1", okay, sorry.
But he's just so ginormous.
He's just
like,
huge. Remember that shoe? His shoe at that store in
Oh,
St. Louis?
Yeah.
Isn't
They
it
had
like
one of his
size like?
shoes.
Isn't it like size 23 or 24?
Yeah,
or
something
something
like
like
it's
that?
just
like a triple E or something.
It's
it takes up like
insane.
half my
They had
arm. I'm
one.
like,
It was
how's that?
enormous?
How's that someone's
Yeah.
foot? Like that's just.
But I
He's
feel
just
like he
so
stays in better
huge.
shape now that he's retired than he did
I
for
think
the
so,
second half of
yeah.
his career.
He's like done this whole fitness journey thing. He's been like posting online and stuff. He's been working out and he wanted to like see his abs or something. And he got a personal trainer and he's lost weight and he looks kind of buff in the upper body now.
Speaking of weird things after you retire, Karl Malone became like a fucking nomad after he retired or some shit. Like
I've seen stuff.
he like moved up into the hills, grew a big fucking beard, and like doesn't come out of his like doesn't go anywhere. Like they don't see him. Like they had to beg him to come out of his home in the hills for his interviews for the Michael show.
doesn't he like
The
pretty
Longest
much-
Dance?
He like doesn't he have like a big cabin and like hunts
Yeah.
and fishes all the
Yeah,
time.
hunts and
That's
fishes
pretty
all the
much
time.
what
Did
he
he
big
does.
stay in
cabin.
Utah or did he move back to Louisiana?
No, he's still in Utah.
Okay.
Maybe I thought it was peaceful up there.
Well, it's a nice kind of off by yourself kind of place.
Did he make it for the All-Star game? I can't remember.
Did he show up? I didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it
I
either.
didn't watch it. I
don't-
don't know. I've seen pictures.
I watched the YouTube
I did
introductions.
hear a complaint on a couple of podcasts I listened to that said that they were surprised at how many players that were alive that didn't show up for it. Like Tim Duncan didn't show up.
Well, it's super
Well-
funny.
He works in the NBA.
Really funny though is I saw something that said Scottie Pippen didn't show up to 75-year anniversary because he didn't want all the smoke from Michael Jordan. You know Jordan would start sitting there
Well,
saying shit to
you
him.
see what Michael said to Magic?
You want to play? You want to
You
go
want
one on one?
One on one right now, Magic. And
Did
you
you
just
see
see the
the-
look on his face. He was dead serious. Like it was Game
see
6, I'm shooting the ball,
Because
Michael.
you know the beef with KG and Ray Allen?
Yeah.
When did you see the thing they put on social media where Ray Allen gets introduced and he goes up and he gets like dapped up with LeBron and KG just goes,
Yeah.
Well,
then doesn't he,
I did see it.
but then doesn't he skip KG and go to Paul Pierce next too?
something like that. But then I guess afterwards they all took a picture together.
They did. I
And then-
seen the picture. Yeah.
But you can see KG's like, this motherfucker, I'm going to kill him. Like,
No, I was watching induction ceremony, and it was like a fucking half hour, right? The whole halftime was like 30, 40 minutes. But the funniest thing they had, though, is they had LeBron right next to Rodman, and they were having some kind of conversation. And I can only imagine what Rodman's telling
Robin's probably
LeBron.
saying, "I'll lock you down, bro."
you want to go to North Korea with me next time?
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
I can only imagine what he could say anything to you.
Well, the funny part is they're in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And Michael Jordan got a bigger applause than LeBron James did.
Because they already know.
Because Mike is the most popular athlete in the world.
He has been for quite a while.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
been retired for 23 years. 24 years.
Well, he
Well-
came back with the Wizards.
Oh, that's true. He came back with the Wizards.
Pretty much 20 years.
Yeah, so 20 years.
Well, I mean, he's probably got the most popular meme of all time where he's just bawling his eyes out.
That was a popular meme.
So,
That and that's all I needed.
Well,
I
he
took
do-
it personal.
And then the Last Dance kind of gave him a little boost back up, too.
He does have the most popular shoe. I mean, still.
that.
I mean, that's
And
crazy.
nope, I don't think we'll have to use this because none of us think LeBron's the GOAT. So I'll just say it because we're talking about it. Kevin Wildes has one of the coolest takes on Jordan being better than LeBron I've ever heard. I've never heard this before. He said, okay, if you have
I know what you're going to say.
if you have a player that played in the NBA and he had 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year award, and 9 scoring titles, do you think that player would make the Hall of Fame? Do you
I
think
would
he'd be a Hall of
think,
Famer?
yeah.
Yes, he's a clear Hall of Famer.
That is the difference between Jordan and LeBron, a full Hall of Fame player.
yeah, it's,
That person
Yeah.
that person is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
And,
That's-
Right.
and LeBron has played many, many, many more games.
Wow.
I saw it too, but they called it they're a Kevin Durant career away from Michael.
Yeah, like it's insane. Like that's one of the most perfect answers I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Jordan is better than LeBron
Like that's insane.
by a whole player.
And
Whole Hall of Fame player.
Whole Hall of Fame player.
like,
Yep, I'm-
it's even hard to think of a Hall of Fame player that accomplished that. 9 scoring titles, a Defensive Player of the Year award, 2 finals
Like
MVPs.
Michael-
Well, who wins scoring titles and defensive player of the years?
Right, yeah.
Him.
Didn't Michael win everything in 1 year?
Yeah, I remember I just read
Oh,
that
yeah.
off that one time.
Yeah.
He won everything. Like he won. Defensive
Even
Player
like
of
the dunk
Year.
contest and the All-Star Game MVP.
Yeah, the only thing he didn't win was the title that year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. And then he went on to win 6 of them, so it was fine. So like that was the greatest response I've ever heard to the GOAT conversation.
That is good. I like
Did
that.
you? I'm guessing you listened to that episode.
A Bill Simmons podcast.
Yeah.
So he's out.
That was
yeah.
the greatest thing I've ever heard as far as the response. Because Kevin Wilde is one of the guys that argues with Nick Wright on First Things First, and Nick Wright said today that Jordan is one of the top 3 greatest players ever now.
Who else has passed him now?
He said something about Jabbar. Like, so not only are you putting LeBron ahead of him, you're slowly lowering Jordan. Like,
Yeah.
with a guy that hasn't played in 40 years. Like, what's he proved in the past 40 years? Like,
I did see Kareem's intro though on TikTok when they announced his name. He goes,
yeah, I
Skyhook.
saw that. It was, oof. But yeah, that was an epic response. I thought.
It was, and the thing about the podcast was, you didn't know what he was talking about when he said it.
Mhm.
He just said, "Is this person a Hall of Famer?" And I'm not going to give you their name, and then just named off their accolades. And he's like, "That's the difference between Jordan and LeBron." So you didn't know that he was talking about Jordan and LeBron like we did when Wade brought it up. Like it completely took me off guard. I was like, "What is he doing?"
Because like the day before, they had a huge debate on First Take about it, or not First Things First. Sorry. And well, I think First Take talked about it too. And talking about First Take, JJ Redick kind of slaughtered Zion Williamson there today.
Yeah, I
saw
did hear
that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, J.J. Redick's a good addition to the show. He just lays it out.
he's also put Stephen A. Smith in a spot a couple times.
Yeah, oh,
which
yeah.
is pretty nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
Because one day I just heard him talking to Stephen A. Smith. He's like, "Did you do it?" No. Answer my question. Have you ever done it? Have you ever tried doing it? Could you ever do it? And he's talking about like doing something on a basketball floor. He's like, no. So stop talking.
Yeah.
So we're talking about current NBA stuff. So did Kyrie Irving just win?
I think so.
Because they're saying that they lifted the mandate in New York.
They did?
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, they're
Well, it makes sense. I mean, the whole mandate for New York was kind of stupid anyway.
So,
So-
They're
like,
lifting it all over the
They were
country.
letting
Yeah.
people who were unvaccinated
Yeah.
who played on other teams come in and play, but Kyrie couldn't play.
Yeah.
But yes, I would say he probably got his point across.
Yeah.
so is this a victory? If we tally this up for Kyrie, like this is a victory?
I think so.
The
Yeah.
victory in his own head, it kind of fucked up his team, but
They are like the 8th seed in the East right now.
yeah.
Yeah, but
But it is great going forward because they now have Kevin Durant's running mate that he wanted and needed. So
Yeah.
that's a plus.
yeah.
Let's see how
Um,
Ben Simmons runs with Kyrie. Boy, this is going to be a wild last
I think
leg
it might
of
be a better
season.
fit than James Harden. They need a defensive stopper.
Yeah, they
they
do
need
need-
help rebounding. They need help getting the ball out on the break. Those are the three things that Ben Simmons is great at. So
Yeah.
I don't think they don't need help. They don't need help scoring with Durant, Kyrie, Mills, and Curry, and they got Drummond, who will help solve their terrible rebounding issues.
Yeah, I was going to
sometimes.
say that they're one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, and Drummond is the best rebounder in the league. So,
Well,
yeah.
by percentage, he's the greatest ever.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
Seth Curry and Patty Mills are maybe two of the top 5 3-point shooters this year.
Oh, yeah. I love Patty
Yeah.
Mills.
So I think it was a great trade for the Nets.
I mean,
Yeah.
it takes the pressure off Simmons. So you just
Oh,
sit
yeah.
back and do his thing. And,
He didn't have to score with
He
those
doesn't,
guys.
he doesn't have to shoot.
yeah.
They have two of the greatest scorers ever.
Just let him be a good defensive Westbrook. And then just let the other two do
Here-
their thing.
here's my thing. I say you tell Kyrie and Durant 5 times a game each. You run the pick and roll with Simmons as your roll man.
A lot
Yeah.
of people are saying
Yeah,
in certain matchups, play him as the big.
yeah.
Play him as the big.
No, you can't do it against Embiid or Jokic, but a lot of teams don't play real big men.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And against those teams, that's why you got Drummond.
yeah,
So and they still got that big long guy that plays center.
Claxton. and they have Aldridge.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, this I think it was
That's
great.
set
for the
up pretty
Nets.
good.
And I think we're talking about legacy stuff in the Durant episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think this even might help in the legacy because I don't think Simmons is anywhere near as viewed as Harden. So I think the big three concept kind of took a little bit step backwards. So if they did win a title, it would look better.
I agree with you, and I will say this. If they were to win the title this season, after all this bullshit and all the temper tantrums and the drama and Kyrie not being able to play and Harden being a little bitch and you bring in an even bigger bitch and Ben Simmons and you win a title, that's saying something.
Yeah.
That's a legit accomplishment.
You
That's
hear
a
all the
leg up.
shit that Harden was doing. I think I talked about it on the phone when you and me talked. Was it last night or the night before?
Mm-hmm.
Harden was being a real bitch, and I was one of those Harden supporters on this podcast. But dear God, they said he was getting mad and throwing temper tantrums when they would call a play for Kevin Durant, and then that he was refusing to play like team basketball. He'd get mad and just refuse to do what Steve Nash asked him to do, and just would want to do isolation plays nonstop.
They
And-
reported that Steve Nash called him out in a film session for not making the correct play, and then like he refused to go to film sessions for like weeks.
Yeah,
Like he would just refuse to show up.
because it was being disrespectful to Steve Nash, like
Yeah.
giving him eye rolls and just walking out of the huddle and
Like,
ignoring him. And
He would like after if Nash said something to him at a home game, his response like get on him about something. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, well what's Kyrie doing?"
That might have been
Like-
my response if they was come to me.
that's not Nash's
But
fault.
it's not.
though.
Yeah, it's not Nash's fault that
Right.
Kyrie's not playing. Like
They're
you know,
being a real douche.
he's just a baby.
Yeah.
Let's
He
be
is.
honest. Houston coddled the fuck out of him for like 10 years.
And he ran back to Daryl Morey. He
He
ran
did.
back to him
yeah.
to get exactly what he
But
wanted.
here's my thing. This is Embiid's team.
Yep.
Yep.
Daryl Morey might be able to tell you, hey, you can take flights to strip clubs after games, and you can go out partying and all this stuff, and that's fine. But when it comes to playing, Embiid might smack shit out you if
Yeah.
you're gonna pout or not play defense.
Somebody
or something.
needs to smack him.
Because this was just last year. On the floor, we heard it word for word. The mics picked it up. Embiid told Tyrese Maxey, "Shut the fuck up, before I bitch slap you." Like, you know, like, and Tyrese Maxey puffed up at him, and Embiid's like, "Let's fucking go." Like, you know, like, you think he's gonna be scared of James Harden?
Embiid does not care.
Right.
He is one of the actual tough guys where he doesn't care. Like if you fuck up what he's trying to do, there's a lot of pretenders in today's NBA. Embiid is not one of them.
Well, it's funny how the foreign guys are making the Americans look like a bunch of bitches.
Like Embiid
I mean,
made
for
fun
real.
of Karl Anthony Towns so much that they fought each other, and Embiid and him got into a full-blown WWE match. Was that last year or the year before?
Yeah, a couple years ago, I think.
So
yeah.
like, Embiid does not care.
Well, here's the other thing, though. I also believe Embiid's a decent person because he did all that to Karl Anthony Towns. They got into an actual fight, punches thrown. They've continued to talk shit and talk about how they hate each other. But then when Karl Anthony Towns' mom died, Embiid was one of the first dudes to reach out to him. A few years back, Embiid's brother died. I think, he realized, this is a shitty thing that happened. This is above basketball.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another tangent.
We haven't talked about Karl Malone in like 20 minutes.
All right.
But we need to talk about the Harden Simmons trade at least a little bit.
I agree. So, do we get our closing statements on Karl Malone?
Yeah, sure. I'm good.
All right. Ray, would you like to go first?
Sure. I mean, we've all said he's a phenomenal player. The only thing that really kept him down is, the titles. But, sometimes you win them, sometimes you can't get there. Sometimes you go into a big tank battalion called Michael Jordan, and he just shuts you fucking down. So, he's got the stats, he's got the accolades. Sometimes you just can't get there with the titles. Shit happens. You either get drafted to the team, you can't. That's just the deal. But Karl Malone is that guy. Top 3, top 5, power forwards, wherever you got him at. That's him for real. And everybody's got him within the top 20. That's where Karl Malone goes because he's just that good. So without the titles, he's still the fucking man. With the titles, we might be talking a whole something different, but that's where I got mine. 19.
All right. Well, that will lead us to Drew.
Karl Malone just unfortunately happened to become one of the many people that didn't get a title because of Michael Jordan. What can you say besides that for his titles? He's not the only one that happened to. But other than that, I think for how good he was, I think we showed that on our list by putting him, besides Ray, in the top 15, and he doesn't have any titles. So we obviously respect that he was able to play for so long and at such a high level. So.
Fair enough. Uncle Doug?
Yeah. I think we have shown him a lot of respect because he is the highest without a title on several lists. Played great his whole career. Playoffs every year of his career. I'm pretty comfortable with where he's at on my list, and but as Ray asked us earlier, you get that title, depending on which year it is, he could go even higher.
Yeah. All right, and that'll lead to me, who I think we've said pretty much all there is to say about Karl. He's one of those 90s guys that didn't end up with the title, which I think holds him back from the elite of the elite status, but he's still a great all-time great player and has my respect, and will continue to have my respect. I'm pretty comfortable with where I have him. Depending on what I do with other guys, he may shift one or two some direction, but I don't have a big issue with where I have him currently. Wade?
I think we've all covered how great he was and all his accolades, but to just kind of put some of it in perspective, this was a guy who, like, we talked about a lot of people that were these really great players for a certain amount of time, and then they were kind of just decent or bad near the end of their career or for part of their career. He was a legit all-star to superstar player for almost 20 years straight. It is insane how long and how good he was. And most of my point throughout the podcast just was he gets a lot of the blame for them not winning titles, and I'm not saying he shouldn't get some of the blame, but I think you have to think of the entire team sometimes and not just the player that we remember. And that was my main point. I think sometimes you have to put a little more thought into the process.
Wait, I just don't think you're giving Greg Orshtag enough credit.
He's out there busting his butt every night, putting up
Well, he was trying.
6 and
Slapped down by Shaq.
6 and 5 every night. Come on, Wade.
I mean, 6 and 5. Yeah, 6 and 5. But yes, I'm sure we should buy an oyster tag jersey for Mom. That'll be good.
And me and Dad will get her a Scott Pollard.
Christmas. We got Christmas set for next year.
Yeah,
We get some of those
that's right.
personalized
We'll all
jerseys.
be in the
personalized.
doghouse.
Yeah, Leah will be the favorite child after that.
Yeah,
But
indeed.
but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think I summed it up.
All right. Well, that will end our Karl Malone portion of this episode and lead us into trivia. What you got, Drew?
All right. 2016. What player was first team All-NBA but did not make the All-Star team?
2016, huh?
Yep.
First team All NBA?
First team All-NBA.
In 2016.
Yep.
I have an answer.
Okay.
The years throwing me out. I'm just
I
trying to
actually
think
feel
of-
good about my answer. I didn't at first, but I kind of do now.
Oh, I gotta write someone down, don't I? Well, at least I'm not the only one struggling. I feel better.
I got nothing.
2016. All right, I wrote someone down.
I'm not even going to waste the ink. I have no idea.
Okay,
All right. I said
Stop me.
DeAndre Jordan.
Okay.
I put Blake Griffin.
Okay. Clippers.
Draymond Green.
Okay. No
No.
answer. Is DeAndre Jordan.
Hey!
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
yep.
Normally it's the other way around. Normally, like some players make the All-Star, but they don't make the All-NBA team. So I was surprised when I saw it. First team too. I was like,
Yeah. What centers would have had to been hurt for him to be first team?
No kidding.
Like him making a couple All NBAs as like a third teamer or something, fine. But like first team DeAndre Jordan,
Yeah.
like was he 12 and 12? Get first team All NBA?
Wasn't he like first team all defense though, and like leading the league in rebounds?
He might have. I don't know what happened in 16.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Like
He had like a 2 or 3 year stretch where he was either leading the league in rebounds or close, I think, and then he was always, I think, he made a couple all defensive teams. But I don't know. I don't even know who the hell was good at center at that point.
I was trying to think. That was probably pre Embiid being good.
Yeah.
Dwight had
And
already gone
Jokic.
down. a
Dwight had
little.
gone down. So you're looking at what? Marc Gasol. Maybe was Joakim Noah still good at that point?
Yeah, was Noah though better than DeAndre Jordan? I mean,
I mean,
he was ever-
yeah. I
let me
don't
pull
know.
up 2000s. Wait, Roy Hibbert for.
I think that was.
Man.
I think that was post Hibbert.
Yeah, we didn't. We was done with all that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Horford maybe. Horford.
Maybe.
That would have been
Yeah.
Horford's heyday
Horford
probably.
could've been good.
Was Gobert good yet?
I don't think so.
No.
Birdman.
That was like 2008.
Oh God.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Maybe he was first team All NBA. We can't
No,
think of
yeah,
Yeah,
nobody.
can't think of
Yeah.
anybody.
Struggling.
All right, who's next?
I got one.
Okay.
All right.
You know, it's always me and Drew first.
Yeah.
He always goes
Always.
first, and I always follow up.
Alex always goes last.
All right. Out of all the great players to play on Team USA, only 2 have won at least 30 games without losing a game. Who are they?
30 games without. So we need to figure out who was on the team that lost.
There's been a couple teams that have lost now.
Really?
This year, team lost. And then
Oh, I was
a
thinking.
bunch of
I was
times.
thinking lost the medal, but no, you're right. Yeah, they lost. It's just,
And
they
then
just still won gold.
one team got like fucking third. And then yeah.
So it's 2.
Yes, 2 players with at least 30 USA victories without a loss.
Okay. 92, 96.
Really just got to think about
All right.
players that played with
1,000.
USA a lot.
All right. I got some.
All right, I got some guesses anyway. I don't feel good about it.
I mean, it's at least a limited pool of players. So, I mean, it's only great players that play on Team USA usually.
Okay.
All right.
I put MJ and Vince Carter.
Okay.
I put Kid and Kobe.
Okay.
I said KD and Kobe.
Okay.
I said Kobe and Pippen.
All right. Alex got 1 and Drew got 1. It was MJ and Kidd.
Oh.
Well, I knew Durant had
I
lost.
said Durant lost this year, Dad. Remember?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Because he was the one
right.
carrying the team. If it wasn't for him, we probably wouldn't even got a medal.
Oh, I agree. He carried that entire.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
true.
utterly fucking ridiculous. We made a team of superstars, and we can't go out and
we had
dominate.
no
the
big guys.
superstars couldn't play overseas rules because it's physical.
Yeah.
And it's
Durant-
big guys.
Durant was the only one like. am I
Rudy
the only one that
Gobert
can
was
play
dropping like
with
20
physical
on us
basketball?
every game.
Say
In
what?
France, Rudy Gobert was dominating us.
Rudy Gobert killed us.
Because
Yeah, he did.
our center was Draymond. That was
Draymond and then Bam, but Bam always got in foul trouble.
yeah. Draymond played center the majority of the time that I watched, and
But that's what should happen when a 7-footer plays somebody that's 6'7". That's exactly what's supposed to
but it
happen.
was stupid on our part for not bringing a legit 7-footer. Even
Yes.
Bam's not 7 foot.
Right.
No.
Like,
There's every year you should bring.
you can't grab DeAndre Ayton. Just tell him go. Like he's still really good.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
You know,
Ayton
it
would've
doesn't
been
have to be a
good.
superstar, just a big man role player. Like, for years, they used to bring Tyson Chandler, even though he wasn't that
Yep.
good, just
Oh,
because
yeah.
they needed a guy to guard big men.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
at least one of the best defenders in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so who would like to go next?
All right, you or me, Ray?
I'll go ahead and do it.
All right.
Let's see. All right. I don't know if I've asked this one yet or not, but I'm going to ask it again. Who were the 3 former Proviso East high school teammates selected in the 95 draft? You know one of them. The other 2 I don't know.
Okay.
Very odd question, I know. But I'll repeat it. Who were the 3 former Proviso East high school teammates selected in the 95 draft? You know one of them, so if you get that one, I'll give it to you.
All right, I guess 3.
Okay.
I don't know.
I can't remember his name. So I'm sure I don't get the other 2. Oh.
I just want to know. I need a whole name. I can't just guess 3 last names.
Hell yeah, that's what I did.
Well, if Alex is going to do it, then I'm going to write down 3.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you can write 3 down. I'll take
That's all
it.
I did. I just
Write
wrote
down last name. Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to pull an Alex.
But if you
here.
get one, I'll give it to you.
2 of the most common last names on this podcast.
No, in the world, bro.
Oh, I got 3 super famous names.
I'm gonna not even waste it again.
And just
Everybody ready?
for the memes is going to be
Yeah.
the last one.
All right, well, I got Johnson, Jones, and Smith.
I got Johnson, Williams, and Smith.
I got Smith, Johnson, and Oyster Tag.
Ooh.
Nope. Go ahead.
Okay, so Cheryl Ford, Donnie Boyce, and then one you should know, Michael Finley.
Oh.
Oh, that's not who I was thinking.
Well, no points there.
Yep.
So is that me?
No, it's me.
Oh, okay.
All right, guys. We're going draft again.
Oh, draft.
Hey, Doug.
1985. Oh, sorry. 1985 draft. Of course, we all know about the chilled envelope and Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
And near and dear to Ray's heart, number 9 was Charles Oakley.
Woo.
Number 13 was Karl Malone, who we discussed tonight. But in the 3rd round,
Oh, crap.
a gentleman from Quincy, Illinois was drafted.
No.
Who is it?
I was hoping you were going to say number 7. Because I did my research this week. In between episodes.
This is too early for some of the guys, I would think.
I don't know. This might sound dumb.
What?
All right. I got a name written down.
I don't know.
Wow, this is a rough one.
Kind of cool though.
I'm just writing it. The only person I know that's been drafted to the NBA. Okay, ready.
Ready.
What you got?
Douglas.
Jack Schrader.
Johnson.
N.A.
Michael Payne.
It was Payne.
Douglas was drafted in the 3rd round in 86.
Damn it!
So Quincy had guys drafted in the 3rd round of the NBA draft 2 years in a row.
Wow.
So when I was looking at the draft, I saw the other kid that went to Iowa with Payne, Stokes.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's Michael Payne's year. I'm like, oh, got to ask him that.
What ridiculous. All right, I'm going to ask this is going to be a big one, guys.
All right.
But I don't think it's that hard. It's just big. Okay, currently in the NBA, there are 13 players averaging double-digit rebounds. 13. Can you? It's a little less than half, but can you name 6 of them? My phone keeps blowing up about Vladimir Putin announcing something, so I don't know if it's good or bad, but
Well, it said he's moving something about troops in the eastern Ukraine, and he's got some plan.
so he's moving troops actually into the country.
Maybe,
now?
I don't know. He's doing something in eastern Ukraine and troops. I haven't read it all the way.
Mm.
And my phone just blew up about baseball. If they don't get something signed by February 28th, games will be canceled and they will not be rescheduled.
Yeah.
If they don't get something signed by the 28th. All right, I got to get back to
I have some players in mind, but they've missed a little bit of time. I'm trying to think if they qualify.
Yeah.
I'm up to 4.
Not a lot of great airtime, but we got to think for a
No.
minute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, let's think here.
That's too many.
It's too many.
That's more than 6.
You can only guess 6?
Yeah.
Dang it. I was going to guess 13. Then never mind. I feel much better about my thing. I don't want to be...
Oh,
Okay.
Can't think of who's played how many games.
I'm not gonna lie. A couple of these names surprised me. Wade's looking at his list.
I can't think of fucking teams. I always struggle with this.
All right, well, I've got some. I think
Shit.
that should. If they don't, I'll be...
All right, I got 6 guesses.
Yeah, I got 6 guesses.
All right. Is that everybody then?
Yeah. Oh, I got a 5.
We'll put on a 6th name, Ray.
Okay. Got it.
All right. What's everybody got?
I got Clint Capella, Jokic, Embiid, Gobert, Vucevic, and the Greek Freak.
Okay. You said Capella,
Yes.
Jokic,
Mm-hmm.
Embiid,
Yep.
Gobert,
Yeah.
Vucevic. Is that what that says?
Yeah.
That's an interesting spelling, by the way.
No.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah. And Greek Freak. Those are all 6 correct.
Yes.
Wow.
Drew.
Willard?
Get some out of time. All right.
Oh, you're not done?
No, I was just trying to think of more teams, but
I apologize.
It's all right. I can go. Greek Freak,
Yep.
Embiid,
Yep.
Sabonis,
Yep.
Ayton.
No.
Fuck.
All right, I got Embiid,
Yep.
Jokic,
Yep.
Green.
No green.
No. All right. Well, I'm done.
Ray?
I had Sabonis,
Yep.
Gobert,
Yep.
Jokic,
Yep.
and then I put Antibio, Randall.
You mean Antetokounmpo? Or, Adebayo. Okay,
Adebayo.
gotcha.
And
No.
then I had Julius Randall.
Randall
and
is
then,
it.
And then I put myself because,
Well, you
Brand-
didn't, but neither did Bam Adebayo, so
yeah, I know.
don't feel too bad. Here are the
My off
13. Gobert, Jokic, Capella, Sabonis, Vucevic, Valanciunas, Antetokounmpo, Embiid, Nurkic, Allen, Randall, Wendell Carter, and what is his first name? Wood from Houston.
It's just horse shit. Ayton's averaging 10 boards a game. He only played 37 games, though.
By the way, Luka Doncic is averaging 9.2.
Not really shocking, to be honest.
That's what Luka does.
He's averaging 27, 9, and 9.
Wow. That's pretty nice.
But who else is on that team?
Nobody now. They traded Porzingis. All right. Well, Drew got a point there. I got to put that on.
Go, Drew.
Oh, yeah. I caught back up with Alex after he got my question right.
So the scores are as follows after this week's tallies. Ray with 21, Uncle Doug with 44, Drew with 46, Alex with 52, and Wade with 58. And Wade's lead was cut into by 1 point this week. And we appreciate you tuning in for this episode on Karl Malone, the mailman. And we appreciate you tuning in next week for our episode on Shaquille O'Neal. And thanks for listening to Sports the NEMO Way.